He had already written the letter, cleared his inbox, turned off his phone. He didn't want anyone to stop him, because in his mind, it was already finished. The pain? Too much. The silence? Too loud. The world? Too heavy. He drove slowly that night. Long highway, no music, just headlights and hopelessness. And somewhere between mile marker 213 and 214, he whispered what he believed would be his last words. God, if you're real, say something, because I don't think I'll make it past tonight. What happened next? It wasn't lightning. It wasn't a voice in the clouds. It was a text from a number he hadn't seen in 2 years. 4 words. I'm praying for you. And that stopped everything. The car, the plan, the ending. He pulled over, hands shaking, heart racing. He hadn't told anyone what he was about to do. No one knew. Except, apparently God did. And he sent someone to interrupt the end of a story that wasn't supposed to be over yet. This is the true story of a man who had given up, and the prayer that found him in the darkest mile of his life. His name is Matthew, 41 years old, divorced, disconnected, no kids, no church, just enough debt to make sleep feel like drowning, and just enough shame to make mornings feel like punishment. He used to be full of hope once, played guitar in his college worship band, volunteered at youth retreats, used to say things like, God's got a plan. But plans change, people change, and pain has a way of choking out every verse you once believed in. It didn't happen all at once. There was no one big moment where Matthew gave up. It was subtle, slow, like watching a light bulb dim across the span of years. First came the job loss, then the failed business, then the tension in the marriage that eventually snapped into 2 lawyers and 1,000 pages of paperwork. After that, Matthew just stopped trying. He still smiled when people asked if he was okay, still said God is good when someone else was watching. But at night, he stared at the ceiling and whispered, God, where are you? And silence was the only answer. Over time, he stopped asking. By the time we meet him in this story, he was living in a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor, a fridge full of nothing, and a heart full of questions he no longer bothered to voice. The day everything changed was a Thursday, cold, gray, no different than any other. Except that morning, Matthew woke up with a plan. Not a to-do list, not a business pitch, a way out. He spent the morning writing letters, not suicide notes. That word felt too dramatic. He called them farewells. He thanked his parents, apologized to his ex-wife, wrote to God too, just one sentence. I used to believe you were close, but you felt too far for too long. I'm sorry if I missed you. He put the letters in envelopes, cleaned the dishes, washed his face, and got in his car. He didn't blast the music. He didn't cry. He just drove toward a destination he never told anyone about, one he didn't plan to return from. Now here's the part that still gives people chills. About 20 minutes into the drive, Matthew did something he hadn't done in years. He prayed, not out loud, not with hope, just one final whisper. God, if you're real, say something. He meant it, but he didn't expect an answer. That's when the text came through. His phone, which he had powered down earlier, lit up. He doesn't remember turning it back on, but there it was, a message from a number he hadn't seen in years, a friend from college. They hadn't spoken in over 2 years, hadn't liked each other's posts, hadn't checked in. The message said only this, I'm praying for you right now. Matthew nearly dropped the phone. His hands trembled. His chest tightened. He slowed the car and pulled over near an empty field. He stared at the screen. How did she know? Why today? Why now? He texted back simply, why did you send that? She responded, I woke up today and couldn't stop thinking about you. I don't know why, but I just prayed, God, wherever Matt is, remind him you're not done. Matthew broke, right there, on the shoulder of a lonely highway, with the wind howling and tears pouring harder than the clouds above him. He didn't know what to do, so he turned the car around. That night, he didn't go to church, didn't call a hotline, didn't suddenly find faith again. But he did pray, for real this time. That night, back in his apartment, Matthew sat on the edge of his mattress, eyes red, hands still trembling, phone face down beside him. He didn't turn on the lights, didn't want the brightness, didn't want to see the half-unpacked boxes, the stack of unopened bills, the reflection of his own emptiness in the darkened TV screen. What he wanted was silence, but not the kind he'd been drowning in. He wanted a silence where he might, just maybe, hear something. And so, for the first time in what felt like years, Matthew prayed. No script, no filter, no spiritual language, just breath, just grief, just a whisper in the dark. God, I'm still here. At first, that's all he could say, not because he didn't want to say more, but because that one sentence held more weight than any he'd ever prayed before. He repeated it. I'm still here. Then came the tears, not the angry ones, not the loud ones, the kind that come slow, but don't stop. Through clenched teeth and shaking shoulders, he began to speak again. I don't know why you let it all fall apart. I don't know why you didn't stop me sooner. I don't know why you felt so far, but you didn't let me go tonight, and that has to mean something. He paused, waited. No thunder, no voice, just stillness. But somehow this time the stillness didn't feel empty. It felt inhabited, like maybe for the first time in a long time, he wasn't praying to God. He was praying with him. He reached for his Bible. It had dust on it. He wiped it clean and opened, not to any planned passage, just wherever it landed. Psalm 121. He read slowly. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. His voice cracked. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Matthew let the words linger. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. He closed the Bible, laid it on the floor, and whispered again, So you were watching, even when I gave up. That was his prayer. No long list, no promises to be better, just presence. He sat in that stillness for hours, didn't fall asleep, didn't pace, just breathed. And then somewhere around 3 a.m. he spoke again. God, I don't need a big sign. I don't need you to fix everything overnight. But I need you to stay. Don't leave me. I don't care how slow it is. Just help me believe again, even if it's only a little bit. There was no reply, no angel in the corner, no miracle story waiting at sunrise. But there was a warmth, soft, real, and new, a sense that this time he wasn't carrying the weight alone. And that, for Matthew, was the beginning of hope. Matthew didn't wake up the next day with everything fixed. There was no magical deposit in his bank account, no job offer waiting in his inbox. His mattress was still on the floor, his fridge still empty, his soul still sore. But something had shifted. It wasn't visible, wasn't loud, but it was real. He didn't cry when he opened his eyes, not because the pain was gone, but because the emptiness wasn't so sharp anymore. He got up, showered, made coffee, bitter, black, no sugar. He sat down and whispered, Thank you for another day. It wasn't much, but it was more than yesterday. That day he went for a walk, no music, no headphones, just the wind in his footsteps. And every 10 minutes or so he'd say quietly, I'm still here, God, are you? And somehow every time he asked, he felt the answer wasn't silence. It was presence. He began doing this every day. Walk, pray, breathe, repeat. Some days he was angry again, frustrated at how slow everything was, still haunted by the shame he carried like a second skin. But even on the angry days, he talked to God, and he started noticing something strange. God never turned away. Matthew had grown up thinking God was disappointed in people like him, people who doubted, people who got divorced, people who came so close to giving up on life entirely. But now he was discovering the truth. God wasn't afraid of rock bottom. He met him there. A few weeks later, Matthew texted the friend who had messaged him that night. He asked her, Do you think I could come to church? She replied, Come as you are. That's the only way that matters. And so he did. sat in the very back row, didn't raise his hands, didn't sing. But during the prayer, he whispered, "Thank you for not letting me end the story early." That Sunday turned into 2, then 4, then every weekend. He joined a men's group, reluctantly. He didn't know if he fit in, but when it was his turn to share, he told the truth. He told them everything: the letter, the drive, the prayer, the text, and the whisper that pulled him back. Nobody flinched. Nobody judged. One man across the circle wept. After the meeting, he pulled Matthew aside and said, "I was about to do the same thing last year. Your story just told me it's not too late for mine." That's when Matthew realized his pain wasn't pointless. It was powerful, not because it made him strong, but because it made him seen. He started volunteering at the church cafe, making bitter black coffee for people just as tired as he once was. He smiled more. Not a fake smile, a quiet one, the kind that says, "I've been through it, but I'm still here." He didn't become famous, didn't launch a ministry, didn't write a book. But he did call his parents. He apologized for disappearing, for going silent, for making them worry, and they wept. Because for the first time in years, they heard something in their son's voice that had been gone for far too long: hope. One day, while walking that same stretch of road where he once planned to end his life, he paused at the exact spot where he pulled over, and he whispered, "Thank you for the text. Thank you for the interruption. Thank you for the voice I couldn't hear, but that never stopped speaking." And in that moment, he realized something holy. God doesn't just save lives, he reclaims them, restores them, and rewrites them. One breath, one prayer, one day at a time. Not every miracle is loud. Sometimes it's a breath, a pause, a phone lighting up at just the right moment. Sometimes it's a prayer that barely makes it past your lips, a whisper you're not even sure heaven hears. But God does. Matthew didn't suddenly become a new man the next day. He didn't wake up glowing with purpose or surrounded by signs. He woke up tired, quiet, but alive. And that was the miracle. He kept praying. Not because he had to, but because somehow deep down, he knew someone was still listening. He didn't have big words, didn't make promises he couldn't keep. His prayers were simple. "God, I'm still here. God, I don't know what to do today, but help me do something. God, I don't feel anything right now, but I'm still showing up." And God met him there every time. Not always with answers, but always with presence. That's how healing began. Not through a sermon, not through a perfect moment, but through showing up again and again until hope came back. Matthew began to understand that God didn't save him just to spare his life. God saved him to show him that life still mattered. That breath still meant something. That purpose wasn't gone, just buried under pain. He started helping others, quietly. One conversation at a time. A man in his church asked for coffee. He'd been battling depression too. And for the first time, Matthew told someone the whole truth. No shame, no performance. Just this: "I almost didn't make it, but God sent a prayer to find me, and it changed everything." From that day on, he made a decision. If God could use someone else's prayer to save his life, then maybe God could use his life to speak into someone else's darkness. Not with answers, but with presence. He never saw himself as a preacher, still doesn't. But when someone's breaking, when someone's sitting in that cold silence asking, "God, are you still there?" Matthew's the one who shows up. He sits beside them and says, "You don't have to believe everything yet. You just have to be willing to keep breathing." Because that's what saved him. One breath, one whisper, one interruption. He'll never forget the spot where he pulled over that night. Sometimes he drives past it and prays for whoever might be hurting in the car behind him, or the one 3 miles ahead. Because someone prayed for him. And God answered, not with thunder, not with fire, but with 4 words: "I'm praying for you." And sometimes that's all it takes to stop someone from ending their story too soon. If there's anything Matthew wants people to remember, it's this: God isn't just the God of miracles. He's the God of middle of nowhere, barely holding on, almost gave up moments. And he shows up there. Every time. You may never know the names of the people God sends into your story. You may never understand why he saved you the way he did. But if you're still here, if you're still breathing, if something in this story is tugging at your heart, then maybe that's the miracle, that you didn't give up, that you made it one more night, that this story found you when you needed it most. And maybe now it's your turn, not to be perfect, not to pretend, but to pray, to reach out, to whisper, God, I'm still here. Because he is too. He's still listening, still waiting, still walking with those who think their story is over, only to gently turn the page and say, I'm not done yet. And neither are you. You are not your lowest moment. You are not your silence. You are not your scars. You are still becoming, still breathing, still seen, still loved. And your story is still being written. So if you're hearing this, don't stop here. Speak, pray, let someone in. There is still more ahead, more days, more grace, more reason. You don't have to feel it all today. You just have to believe that it's not over, not yet, not for you. If you've ever been in a place like Matthew, if you've ever wanted to give up, or if you're still in that place now, we want you to know you're not alone. Leave a comment below. You don't have to explain everything. Just write, still here. That's enough. We'll read every one. We'll pray over every name. If this story reminded you of someone you love, send it to them. Don't wait. You never know how close someone might be to the edge. And if this message stirred something in your spirit, subscribe to this channel, not for more content, but for more stories like this, real, honest, hopeful, because no matter how dark it feels, God is still listening, and he's not done with you yet.